So welcome to my YouTube channel. That's what we call The Good Life. Today I'm going to be showing you all the jobs you can be doing in the month of June in and around your allotment and your home garden. So I'm going to take you for a little wander around and show you the jobs I'm actually doing to give you some idea of how I do them and how you can get really successful plants this year. Now there's a lot of misconception that you're too late if you haven't put stuff in the ground. You are not too late. If you've lost stuff, there is still plenty of time. I've lost quite a few things, and every year I use a few things, or they don't get started very well, or I don't get them in on time. Although you do need to be quite disciplined in June to start really getting stuff in. It is serious that you get the stuff in this month. There is still plenty and plenty you can be putting in, and it will definitely be worth it at the end of the year, I promise you. So if you've not already subscribed to my channel, it's definitely worth doing so, and welcome to all the new subscribers as well. So one of the first things you can be doing, and it might not be one of the most glamorous jobs in the world, is definitely weeding. Now it really felt like I only weed and trimmed and clipped a few weeks ago, and it still needs to be done. So let's take a look at mine, and I can assure you I trimmed this very recently and mowed it, or I had helpers doing it with me as well, and I'm going to have to be doing it again. So it's really important to keep me on track of the weeds. The weeds obviously will take all the nutrients out of the soil if you don't weed, and also it can encourage pests and disease, and in particular these dreaded slugs that we all seem to be blighted with this year. So there's different ways you can weed. One of the easiest ways, if you've got big open spaces like this, a hoe is a really easy way. And on a nice sunny day like this, just to nip them off like that, you don't even have to pick them up. If you can be bothered to pick them up and put them in the composter, then that's fine. But it's a bit like hoovering on the allotment, I think. I joke ho 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 when I'm doing it. So that's one thing you should be doing, and I will definitely be doing this before I go back home today. If the plants are quite close together, like the onions, I will probably more spot weed with a little spade and hand do them. Like these, the other week I came down here and I had loads of weeds all growing in and around my chard. I've got some lettuce in there, I've got some beetroot. I've got some carrots over here, and they were quite full of weeds, so I went through with a little trowel and just gently took them out. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. If you be careful with the hoe, I will say that, because I did hoe up one of my pumpkins. As if the slugs aren't doing enough damage, I managed to hoe up one of my pumpkins. Good job I've got spares, is all I can say. But areas like this, you just run the hoe, the bits in between, just run the hoe round it. Like I say, on a nice sunny day like this, you don't need to pick the weeds up, the sun will just burn them off. So that's one job that you need to be doing. Something else you need to be doing, if we're not trying to get away from the slugs and the snails, are the birds. So definitely cover your crops. I won't keep those seeds covered all the time. It won't be long and I will lift that off, but when they're tender, the birds can quite easily munch the little tips off. The carrots, on the other hand, I will keep these covered with Enviromesh to stop the carrot fly. Really good to do that. I've also got some of my brassicas covered down the bottom there, if we take a quick wander down, and some of my fruit as well. I've got my gooseberries covered from the birds. I've got, as you can see, I've got some broccolis here, and I've got some kale here. And again, just to keep it real, I have lost a couple of my kales to the slugs, but I have got some spares at home. That's my top tip. Have spares ready if you do lose a few, because you often will, or just put a few more out, and then if you lose a few, it doesn't really matter. It's really handy to have good netting. And I use a combination of mainly scaffolding net, which is quite reasonably priced. You can get a big roll of it and you can cover lots of things to protect the birds. We will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you want to get some for yourself. I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do have to tell you that I earn a little bit of money out of it, but it's a really easy place to get it from, and they just deliver it straight to your door. The other thing is obviously the Enviromesh, which I've got on my carrots up there. I've also got a layer of Enviromesh underneath my broccoli to keep the white cabbage butterflies off. Another really good thing thing, both those scaffolding net and the Enviromesh are really, really durable. They might cost a little bit more, but I use them year after year after year after year. Again, we will put a link up on the screen for the Enviromesh, and there will be one in the description as well. But although they're not cheap, they're a little bit dear, but they do last. So once you've bought them once, you'll use them again and again. My top tip with the Enviromesh is try and buy the size that you need and don't cut it. Once you start cutting it to different sizes, it might not fit different things. So try and work out what size you want and get the right size. The scaffolding net, that's a little bit different, and you do just cut it. You buy a great big roll and you cut it off in sections and just use it for various things. You'll see it all around my allotment because it's very, very cheap and very, very durable. So that's some other jobs you can be doing. Other things, it's not all dull things, you know. There are lots of other things you can be doing as well. Now, the other obvious thing, and you don't need me to tell you probably, is watching out for pests. So keep an eye out for the slugs and the snails and remove them from your allotment. Do whatever you want to do with them, but please don't judge people for whatever they do. We all have to keep our allotment clear of predators that take our vegetables. Also, black fly can be around. I haven't had any at the moment, touch wood, but I'm sure I will do, and other bugs and predators. So keep an eye on your precious crops to make sure they're not being attacked. Again, like I said, covering stuff really, really does help. Watering as well, as if we haven't had enough water, but believe it or not, this month it's probably going to start to get a little bit drier. I've already noticed it starting to dry out, and it's remembering to regularly water things. The things you need to water more often are things that you've just planted and seeds that you've put in, you know, every 2 to 3 days if you've just planted something and it's not raining. If it rains, obviously the job is done for you and you've saved yourself a lot of hassle. I see an awful lot of people watering far too much. Obviously pots and things like that, you need to water a little bit more, but again, don't overwater your pots. You know, only water them when they're starting to get dry. Don't keep them over moist, your pots, because that's something else that can cause problems. It can cause the roots to rot and other problems as well. And when you're starting off young seedlings, one of the common mistakes people make is they actually overwater them as opposed to underwater them. So that's just something to keep an eye out. There is also a few things you can actually start to harvest now. There aren't tons of things you can harvest, but we are starting to get a few things. Now, they're mainly things that I've overwintered, but believe it or not, there are a few things that I am actually harvesting now. So let's have a little wander around and see what we've got. So we've actually got courgettes, not quite ready, but not far off. So hopefully a few more weeks and I will be harvesting those. As we move up, I've got some flowers on my Charlotte potatoes. I haven't dug any yet, but with Charlotte potatoes, once you see bloom, that's a sure sign, because you eat them a little bit smaller, that I can probably start digging those. I haven't started digging them yet, but that's something. If you've got Charlotte potatoes, you might want to just lift one up if they're looking a little bit like mine to see if they're ready. If not, you know, don't just dig the whole thing up. Have a little bit of get a little shovel down and have a little bit of a look around. If it looks like they're ready, you can start digging them. I dig them as I need them. I don't dig them all in one go because they can thin out a little bit more. I did harvest my garlic. I've got to say, it wasn't the best garlic in the world. It didn't look brilliant. I wasn't convinced it was going to store very well, so I've just taken all the cloves, I've just taken all the shells off the cloves and I've actually frozen them. And actually, as long as you freeze them in a very tight container, the smell doesn't come out. That's the top tip. If you ever freeze garlic, obviously you take all the, all the bits that you peel off, and then you can just store them in the freezer, and you can use them straight from the freezer if you put them through a garlic crusher. So my onions are not too far off being harvested, but not quite ready yet. So a little bit longer, and I'll hopefully be able to get those up. As we move around, I've been harvesting my broad beans. These have been doing quite well. So as we take a look in here, and the way you tell whether your broad beans are ready, just feel the pods, and if you can feel the firm beans in there, then they're ready to take off. So I've been taking a few of these off already and enjoying them. These were overwintered, and they've actually done really well. And there was at one point when the slugs and snails had definitely been attacking these, and I did wonder whether I was going to get anything, quite frankly. There are definitely some green shoots, as it were, coming through. I'm also harvesting peas at home. And I've also got some salad leaves that I'm harvesting, and we can take a look at my gooseberries up here. I shall be getting some of those off soon if we wander around. Let's have a quick look. So look, we've got gooseberries here. You can start taking them off now, or you can leave them on to sweeten up. The choice is yours. So it's perfectly okay to start taking the gooseberries off now. Just be really careful because they're very, very prickly. I'll probably start taking some off now, but I won't take them all off in one go. So if you've got gooseberries, you can start harvesting those. The rhubarb, I know a lot of people have been talking about how tired the rhubarb's looking. Mine's actually starting to bounce back, so while I can't harvest any at the moment, we normally get another flourish later in the year, which I'm expecting quite soon. So like I said, I've got lettuce and I've got peas at home, so there really are a few things that you can start to be enjoying. I've got a little bit of asparagus that I've had, and I also cut some of my artichokes, so there really are a few things you can be harvesting now, and it'd be great to hear what other things you're going to be harvesting as well. So I've got a few more jobs that I'm doing, but one other thing I was going to mention is an awful lot of people are moaning about the cost and how much they spend on their allotment, and is it worthwhile? Well, I can tell you it is 100% worthwhile. It is really easy to spend too much money on your allotment, and if you're trying to run it on a budget, all the things I do are genuinely running it on a budget, if I'm really honest with you. And one of the things I do is I always keep an eye out for deals. I subscribe to the loyalty cards in the garden centres. Another thing that I have something called a cashback card, which my husband and I are affiliated with. We get cashback in all sorts of places. In fact, we get cashback absolutely everywhere, but some of the places I get cashback are Dobby's Garden Centre and also B&Q, their garden centre part, and obviously all the other stuff there as well. If you want one of these, we will put a link up on the screen and one in the description. All you need to take is one eligible utility service, and then you can apply for a cashback card. And it's absolutely fantastic because I get between £20 and £40 back every single month. Now let's move on to more jobs you can be doing. So something else that's really important that you should be doing, I've got tomatoes at home. We're going to put a picture up on the screen. One of the things that's really, really important you should be doing is tying your tomatoes up. They are growing so incredibly quickly at the moment. You know, like literally a couple of days ago, it felt like I tied them up the cane, and now I've had to tie them up the cane a little bit more. Also, remembering to take the side shoots out is another really, really important thing to do, so that you're encouraging the tomatoes to start to form. Now, if you're stuck of what things you can plant or sow, and you're not sure what you can be doing now, we have got another video of all the things you can be sowing and planting in the month of June, and again we will pop it up on the screen and you can watch that video to give you some ideas.